Years ago, in a forgotten town shrouded in darkness, I toiled as a delivery driver for a desolate pizza joint. The night was always eerie, but this particular night was a chilling nightmare. I'd been working there for nearly a year, sharing shifts with my silent coworker Jake. We were often alone, navigating the late hours until the clock struck 2 a.m. The night felt thick, like a heavy fog had settled over everything. Rain tapped on the windows as I returned from a delivery. With Jake busy crafting a pizza, I answered the phone. A slurred voice on the other end ordered a large sausage pizza. A strange feeling tingled my spine, but I took the order and asked if there was anything else. At first silence, then repeated demand for only the pizza. I sent the order and then readied myself for the next delivery. As I grabbed the pizza, Jake's eyes bored into mine with a look that said more than words. His lips stayed sealed, but his unease was palpable. I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just nerves. The address for the next delivery led to a remote spot, a good 15-minute drive away. I arrived at a house swallowed by trees, barely visible in the gloom. Approaching the door, it swung open without a sound. The man who stood before me wore a perplexed expression, as if caught off guard by my presence. Handing him the pizza, I was met with an eerie silence as he paid. His grip on the pizza was unsettling, his gaze drifting over my shoulder. I turned to look, and there, looming in the mist, was a cloaked figure barely visible. Dread consumed me as I faced the man again, his door slamming shut abruptly. Panic ignited, and I sprinted to my car, racing back to the shop. When I recounted the encounter to Jake, he seemed unfazed, urging me to make the next delivery. A sense of foreboding clung to me, pushing me to call the police just in case. Their promises of an investigation provided little solace. When they called back, the man claimed to be awaiting his friend, Jake, who was still at work. Yet he denied any knowledge of the hooded figure. I grew convinced that Jake was in danger, but his vague responses added to the mystique. The enigma lingered, haunting me as I moved on to another pizza joint. But even with time, the truth eluded me. That night's memory still grips me, an unsettling puzzle that won't fade. It leaves me pondering the chilling possibility that the cloaked figure's intentions might never be revealed. On a chilly Sunday night, I was out hustling for extra cash, delivering meals with DoorDash and Uber Eats. My buddy had shared his trick of running both apps together, a clever way to amp up my earnings per hour. There was just one downside: the occasional downtime spent driving around, hoping for an order. Running both apps fixed that problem, ensuring I was raking in the cash all the time. The night rolled on, with me darting between homes and eateries, getting orders done like clockwork. Just when I thought it would be a routine night, I snagged a small order from a nearby restaurant. Here's the catch: the delivery address was miles away. These jobs were a headache, long drives for less pay. Yet this order hinted of a fat tip. Temptation got the best of me, so I grabbed it. I picked up the grub and kicked off a 25-minute jaunt to the customer spot. Halfway there, cruising along a dim side road, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Probably from a customer. A man confirmed he was my customer and apologized, explaining he ordered using a friend's account but forgot to change the address. He swore his place was just around the corner, and he guided me to it. He said he'd be waiting outside to take the food. He insisted I didn't need the address, he'd be there waiting. Sounded legit, and besides, I'm not the type to be scared easily. When I hit what should have been his friend's place, I followed his directions. On a dim road in a sleepy hood, I rolled up to a dead-end sign, meaning the road was about to run out. Confident I got it right, I pulled over to ring up the customer and let him know that I arrived. But bam, a knock at my window yanked me from my thoughts. Jumping out of my skin, I rolled down the window to greet the dude. But looking up at him, an icy shiver slashed through me. His face was just Blank, like all emotions had been scrubbed clean. My gut yelled, "Something's off," so I hit the window lock button quickly. Then, what do you know? He shoved a gun through the open window, pointing it right at my noggin. Yells and more voices followed, a whole gang with them rushing over. They closed in, tugging on the door handles, shouting at each other. My brain couldn't even catch up. Reflexes kicked in, and I stomped on the gas pedal, zooming down the street. The dude with the gun barely had time to pull back before I bolted. Coming to the end of the road, I did a quick 180 and faced the other side. But get this, those attackers were gone. Poof, vanished like they were never there. My jaw dropped. They disappeared into thin air. Shaken to the core, I dialed 911 the second I got out of that maze of a neighborhood. This gang stuff wasn't unheard of around here, but I sure as heck didn't think I'd be a target. The cops showed up quickly and dug into it, but the attackers? Vanished, and the clues led nowhere. During the COVID pandemic, I relied on grocery delivery to minimize my exposure to the outside world. One of the regular delivery drivers, Mark, stood out with his odd behavior, which gradually morphed into something genuinely unsettling. Mark had an uncanny ability to show up just as I submitted an order, as if he could anticipate my needs. His smile seemed forced, his eyes devoid of warmth. At first, I dismissed it as mere coincidence, but over time, the feeling of unease settled in wherever he delivered. As the weeks passed, Mark's appearance began to change. His once clean-shaven face became haggard, and his eyes grew bloodshot, giving him an almost feral look. The bags under his eyes seemed to deepen with every delivery. His presence began to evoke a sense of dread, as if his very aurora was tainted. One evening, I noticed Mark lingering by the gate to my yard after handing over the groceries. His gaze was fixed on my front door. A strange smile played on his lips. Goosebumps prickled my skin and a knot tightened in my stomach. I quickly closed the door, and the image of his unsettling smile burned into my mind. Late one night, I received a notification from the delivery app. It was a message from Mark, though I hadn't placed an order. He wrote, "I know you're home. Open the door." Panic gripped me as I looked out the window to see him standing in the shadows near my front porch, his eyes fixated on my house. His smile had become a twisted grin, sending a jolt of terror through me. I immediately called the police, my voice trembling as I explained the situation. By the time they arrived, Mark had disappeared again, leaving no trace behind. The officers assured me they would keep an eye out for him, but I couldn't escape the feeling that he was always watching. Days turned into weeks, and I couldn't shake the sense of being constantly observed. I started noticing strange marks on my windows, almost as if someone had been peering inside. My sleep grew fitful, and I woke up multiple times to the sound of faint whispers that seemed to vanish as soon as I fully awake. Growing more desperate for answers, I decided to reach out to the grocery store where Mark worked. When I inquired about him, they informed me that Mark had left his job weeks ago due to personal reasons. The revelation left me even more unnerved, realizing that the person who had been delivering groceries to my door was no longer an employee. One night, I woke up to the sound of scratching at my bedroom window. My heart pounded in my chest as I slowly turned to look. There, illuminated by the moonlight, was Mark's twisted face pressed against the glass, a wicked grin stretching his lips. I screamed and scrambled out of bed, frantically dialing 911. The police arrived swiftly, combing the area for any signs of Mark, but he had vanished once again. They assured me they would increase patrols in my neighborhood, but I knew deep down that this nightmare was far from over. To this day, I live in fear of my next encounter with Mark, his deranged smile and unsettling presence forever etched in my mind. The safety of my own home has been shattered, replaced by a haunting paranoia that he could strike at any moment.